In this episode of Building Blocks of Bharat, we are going to explore stone and the science of stone structures in India. Starting from the mesmerizing caves at Ellora, to the Sun Temple at Konark, and finally ending up at the marble Taj Mahal. Keep watching as we journey through India, stonewalling. One of the earliest evidence of human settlements from the Mesolithic age in India is the rare prehistoric site of Bhimbetka, a World Heritage Site in Madhya Pradesh. In these craggy sandstone hills of the Vindhya range, more than 700 cave and rock shelters have been found and stand testimony to some of the earliest human settlements in India. They are also one of the largest repositories of prehistoric art, depicting human and animal figures to more elaborate hunting scenes. Cupules, or small excavations on rock surfaces found in Bhimbetka, are believed to be some of the world's oldest. Archaeologists have also found artifacts from prehistoric cultures, ranging from pebble tools to hand axes and cleavers. The rock caves of Bhimbetka are significant, as they form an important part of the chain that shows us how humans started using natural formations for shelters and gradually developed tools and techniques to create sophisticated structures for habitation, using stones, rocks, and eventually bricks. However, in India, after the Harappan civilization, where we see large-scale use of stone for fortification, it was not used for large buildings for almost 2,000 years, or at least evidence to this end has not been found. And then there was a renaissance of rock-cut architecture in many parts of India. And when we study these exquisite buildings and monuments that were chiseled out of steep mountains, or put together using stone, we get a glimpse of the complex engineering design and planning skills of ancient Indians. To understand the artistic and technical brilliance of the ancient builders, we make our way to the World Heritage Site of Ellora, located in the Deccan Trap, which is located 29 kilometers from Aurangabad in Maharashtra. The Ellora Caves are considered as the epitome of Indian rock-cut architecture and were built between the 5th and 13th century. As Arjun walks towards the Ellora Caves, he cannot help but wonder the kind of resources, architectural techniques, and artistic skills that must have been employed to excavate and carve these 34 rock-cut shrines from the basaltic Charan Nandri hills. These caves have multi-religious shrines. These are Brahmanical caves, Buddhist and Jain caves. However, it is still unclear who the patrons for these religious shrines were. There are some inscriptions on caves that mention the Rashtrakoot king Danti Durg. Others are attributed to noblemen. But historically, many of these monuments are attributed to another Rashtrakoot king, Krishna I. Starting from the south end corner are the Buddhist caves, which are roughly chronologically numbered from 1 to 12. The Brahmanical caves, which are more intricately carved, run from Cave 13 to Cave 29. These are followed by the Jain caves, from Cave 30 to 34. The caves become steadily larger and more elaborately decorated as they progress to the north. The earliest Brahmanical caves at Ellora date from 600 AD, right in the middle of the Buddhist period, while the Buddhist caves are considered to be the oldest of the group. Evidence indicates that a busy caravan route passed through here. The Dakshinapath, the ancient north-south trade route from Pataliputra to Pratishtan. So Ellora was undoubtedly a thriving center for artistic, religious, political and economic life. Now, if we explore how these caves were built, the surprising fact emerges that they were excavated from top to bottom. The builders of the time hollowed out the ceilings first and worked downwards, carefully chiseling out the rock. The volcanic basaltic formation of these hills is known as the Deccan Trap. One can actually see the channels through which the lava flowed in some places. Like in cave number 32, due to overheating, these channels have a brownish red color. Depending upon the nature and mineralogical content of the lava flow, the rock formations also varied in character and texture, giving rise to various qualities like coarse-grained and fine-grained formations. The builders have chosen to chisel out areas that are fine-grained and are ideal for sculpting and rock hewing. In addition to this, the ancient builders also traced the horizontal and vertical joints in the rock formation to minimize the labor and time during excavation and rock splitting. The nature of basaltic rock is ideal for this work, as it is soft during the initial excavation and hardens on exposure to environment. In fact, the techniques and tools which were made and perfected in that era are still in use in the conservation efforts underway in the Ajanta caves. These chisels vary in size. The larger ones were used to hew blocks of stone, while the smaller and finer ones were used for sculpting and other fine detailing. The hill also supports several streams. An important one is the Ella Ganga, which drains into the Shiv, a stream of the Godavari river system. The Ella Ganga, in its full spate during the monsoon, when the overflowing waters fall near Sita Ki Nahani, near Cave 29 as a crashing waterfall. But when we visited the place, it was dry. The presence of water in the area would have been a critical factor in the development of Ellora, since water made this a viable stopping point along the trade route. The ancient builders also had a provision for storing large quantities of water on both sides of the cave. Large storage tanks which have been scooped out of stone. Feeding these is a network of drains carved out of solid stone. So basically, the rainwater would flow through these and get stored in the tanks. Very similar to rainwater harvesting, which is becoming so important in our time. One of the most stunning structures here is the monolithic Kailash Nath temple, which was built in the 8th century and took over 100 years to complete, carved out of one single rock. One can actually see iron chisel markings on the rough-hewn stone throughout Ellora. It is 30 meters high, 45 meters wide, and 85 meters deep, covering an area double the size of Parthenon in Athena. The temple was hewn from a mass of rock obtained by cutting 3 big trenches in the 3 sides of the hill. The outer screen wall is recessed and has several vertical compartments with beautiful sculptures like the Dancing Shiv and Vishnu on Garud. To truly understand the architectural complexity of the Kailasha temple, one needs to understand its layout and appreciate how minutely the architects must have planned for every detail. Interestingly, the architectural features and many techniques of constructions which we see in modern buildings are to be found here. The temple comprises of a main shrine, a 16-pillared mandap or hall, a Nandi mandap, and a gopur or a town constructed over the temple. Now all these are connected by seamless rock bridges hewn out of the same mother rock without a single joint. A flight of steps on either side of the bridge connects the main mandap of the main shrine. The northern side of the staircase has embellished phrases in bas relief of the Mahabharata. The southern side has scenes from the Ramayana. On the southern side of the portico, there is a 3-storied cave. The design features include balconies, staircases, life-sized sculptures, and elaborate carvings. This temple also contains the largest cantilevered rock ceiling in the world. On the outer parameters of the temple are galleries adorned with hundreds of sculptures scooped out of the rock. Initially, the whole temple was covered with white plaster, thus increasing the similarity to snow-covered Mount Kailash. The Ellora Caves were adorned with beautiful paintings, like paintings found in Ajanta Cave. The Archaeological Survey of India has found more than 1 layer of paintings in some of the caves. The artists used the lime medium rather than the true fresco technique. The planning, layout and construction of Kailash temple was truly a feat of human genius. Let's take a moment to absorb the stunning beauty of the chiseled wonders before heading off to our next destination. We now travel to the sun temples of Konark in Odisha. This temple was built in about 1250 AD by the East Ganga king Narasimhadev. The temples have a uniquely stunning design blueprint. The entire temple has been conceived as the chariot of the sun god with 24 wheels, each about 3 meters in diameter, with a set of spokes and elaborate carvings. Each of these wheels represents a fortnight. 7 horses drag the temple. 2 lions guard the entrance, crushing elephants. The temple originally consisted of 3 parts: a sanctuary dual topped by a colossal spiral tower, a porch Jagamohan with a pyramidal roof, and a dance hall, Nath Mandir. Today, the sanctuary lies in ruins and the tower has disappeared. But the Jagmohan and Nath Mandir remain intact, with flawless proportions and impressive dimensions, a testimony to the scientific and architectural development of the time. The temple also symbolizes the passage of time, which connects to the symbolism of the sun god. The 7 horses, which pull the sun temple eastwards towards the dawn, represent the days of the week. The 12 pairs of wheels represent the 12 months of the year. Another intriguing detail is that the wheels are not ordinary wheels. The spokes create a sundial. One can calculate the precise time of the day by just looking at the shadow cast by these spokes. Let's see how that could work. Each wheel has 8 spokes, dividing the 24 hours into 8 equal parts, which means that the time between 2 major spokes is 3 hours. There are 8 minor spokes as well, which means that the minor spokes would each represent 90 minutes. Now the edge of the wheel is also marked with tiny beads. There are 30 beads between a minor and a major spoke. So the 90 minutes is divided by 30, which means that each bead has a value of 3 minutes. The beads are large enough, so one can also see if the shadow falls in the center of the bead or on one of the ends of the bead. This way we can further calculate time accurately to the minute. Now see the detailing of the site. What happens when the sun doesn't shine on this side of the wall? How can we tell time in the afternoon? Well, just go to the other side, which has another sundial. It took 12 years and 1,200 artisans to build this temple. Evidence shows that 3 kinds of stones were used in the temple construction. Khondalite, a kind of metamorphic rock, was used for large parts of the temple. Fluorite was used in the door frame and for some sculptures. Laterite was used in interiors, like the foundation staircase and the center of the platform. The stones were smoothly finished and then fitted together. They were laid horizontally, placed one upon another, and joined together with iron cramps and dowels. The workmanship was so perfect that the joints could hardly be seen. Designs were carved on them only after that. Another unique feature of this temple is the presence of iron plates in between every 2 stones. Massive iron beams have also been used to construct the higher floors of the temple. Many theories explain the fall of the temple. As per one theory, part of the Konark temple collapsed because it was not completed fully. And others blame it on architectural flaws. But what is left is still stunning and remains one of the greatest architectural marvels ever to be seen in India. Before we head to our next destination, let us take a quick look at the range of stone used across structures in India. Many of the iconic churches of Goa were made out of laterite. The Victoria Memorial in Kolkata was made of marble. The Quwwatul Islam Mosque of the Qutb has stunning sandstone. The Mughal monuments, the Red Fort, and Fatehpur Sikri have pink sandstone, as does the Hawa Mahal in Jaipur, each using different techniques and knowledge. Many buildings were also made out of other materials like brick and clad in stone, like the Great Stupa at Sachi. Its nucleus was a simple hemispherical brick structure built over the relics of the Buddha. After that, the structure was clad in stone. It was also enhanced and made bigger during the 1st and 2nd century BCE. Many British colonial buildings in India were also similarly stone-clad. But how can we discuss stone monuments in India without at least a quick glimpse at the marble Taj Mahal, the most famous monument in the country, perhaps even in the world? What we will explore is the sheer scale of it. it took the combined efforts of an estimated 22,000 workers to build this mausoleum. From the time it was started, it took almost 17 years before the monument complex was completed in 1648. It is interesting to note that most Mughal-era buildings tended to use red stone for exteriors and functional architecture, such as military buildings and forts. But they reserve white marble for special inner spaces like the tombs of holy men. However, in the case of the Taj, the entire main structure is constructed of white marble, and the auxiliary buildings are composed out of red sandstone. The internal construction is of brick, which was fired locally. The veneer work is of white marble, obtained from Makrana in Rajasthan. Semi-precious stones for inlay ornamentation were brought from all over the world. Jasper was sourced from the Punjab, and jade and crystal from China. The turquoise was from Tibet and the lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, while the sapphire came from Sri Lanka and the carnelian from Arabia. In all, 28 types of precious and semi-precious stones were inlaid into the white marble. Red sandstone of different tints was requisitioned from the neighboring quarries of Sikri and Dholpur. It is believed that 1,000 elephants were used to transport building materials during the construction of the Taj. To see how the inlay work of the Taj was done, we head to Delhi. Our destination, the Gurudwara Bangla Sahib, one of the most prominent sites of worship for the Sikhs in Delhi. The site has some beautiful examples of inlay work. As we wander around, we see workmen working on a new gateway with similar inlay work. Curiously, techniques have remained virtually unchanged, and to this day, everything is created exclusively by hand. The long and detailed process requires great artistry, patience, and precision. Therefore, only experienced masters of the art are able to produce high-quality pieces. Let us spend a few minutes reliving the splendor of all the monuments we saw. Most buildings are remembered for the patrons who built them, and the many skilled artisans, craftsmen, masons, and architects are usually forgotten. But it is these craftsmen whose skill, knowledge, and technology have created these masterpieces that delight and engross